Okay, we are back live. 49ers Morning Show. I'm back from my little mini vacation. I'm ready to talk some 49ers football. So let's get it.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Aaron Crocker. Over midfield, he'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Cross Talk TV podcast. Peace.
Welcome to another episode of the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. I am your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And today, we really are going to touch more on all things John Lynch and his comments. He was on Maiocco's show. So we're going to get into really one thing he stressed a lot about this show. I'm not going to say what that is yet, but we're going to get into that, how they're handling the quarterback situation, Brandon Aiyuk, their draft strategy, all that and more. But first, as always, make sure if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. All right, hit the like button. Make sure you guys send me those flames. Let me know how you're doing. 5 flames, you're doing great. 1 flame, not feeling very good, but we're going to get you there this morning. We're going to get you there. Croc, how was the trip to Cali? It was good, man. It was good. It was good. Spent time with the family and everything. Sometimes you need that, kind of like reset. You know what I'm saying? Like 49ers, bye week. Time for the 49ers to reset. So got a nice little reset in. Man, got to, kick it with my big brother, my mom, all that good stuff. So, sometimes you need that. Sometimes we need that. Somebody likes the hat. Nice hat. Thank you. Where did I get this hat? I think it was a gift for me. It was a gift. Can't tell you when. I don't remember when. But I feel like 2014? So I've had this hat about 7 years. We got a lot of flames going on. Okay, five flames. What's this at the end right here? Is that a water bottle? So it's like you so hot, you gotta get put out. Call a fire department. Y'all funny, man. That's good, man. Looks like everybody's vibe is up right now. Good vibes all over. There we go. Big Dez, 5 flames. Let's go. Faithful then, faithful now. I'm glad you said that because obviously we're going to get into John Lynch and a lot of his comments on the Matt Maiocco show. And, once I get off my takes and everything, we're going to get into, getting the fans on, hear y'all voice, listen to y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I'm excited to be back with you guys. We missed Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. That's 3 days that we missed with me being out of state. What up, Croc? New here, been listening for the new listening. My bad. I don't have my glasses on. Been listening for the 3rd time. Love the show. Keep it up. 49 Empire, baby. Let's go. Yes, sir. Keep listening. Share. Tell a friend. All that good stuff. I appreciate all that. F. Kyle Williams. I know. I missed too many days, man. I missed too many days, and I missed it. I'm like, man, we had a good thing going. 2 straight weeks, rocking and rolling. Everybody being able to chime in and really this platform. If you don't already, make sure you guys listen to Locked On 49ers with myself, my co-host, Brian Peacock. We're coming to you guys, bringing you guys 49ers content 5 days a week. So really, before y'all even watch this show, y'all should be listening to Locked On 49ers with myself and Brian Peacock, man. Love that show. He keeps it more structured. This show is a little bit more loose, almost like a radio show. That's why I try to have this, almost like a radio show. You have people call in, get their thoughts on everything, So, as always, I'm excited to be able to talk 49er football with you guys. And one thing that I wanted to kind of stress and really come out and say right away is the sky is not falling, right? The sky is not falling. I take a step back, and sometimes when you're in the moment, it's hard to take a step back and look at where everything is at with the 49ers. And we're all passionate about the 49ers. But I took a step back and I was like, 49ers are in a good place. You have a team that obviously isn't where you want them to be. You have more losses than wins right now. But the next 2 games are extremely winnable. So almost like how they came out and punched the Lions in the mouth, punched the Eagles in the mouth. They have an opportunity right now to get back on track. You win these next 2 games, man, you're over 500. And really, a lot of people, I think, we look at where the Rams are right now. We look at where the Cardinals are. You have one team that's undefeated, one team with one loss, and it's like, oh wow, can't win the division. Like playoffs are done. Like nah, it's not even close to being done. The 49ers are a half game out of being in the last in a wild card spot. A half game. That's it. So you put together a couple wins here. All right, we're cooking now, right? 4-3 should be in that 6 or 7 spot by that time. There are a lot of teams kind of jumbled in the same little spot, and I really feel like the 49ers had a team to start to kind of get on the roll. But there's one thing that has to happen, and now we're about to get into some of John Lynch's comments. And one thing that continued to stand out, but before that, I want to answer this question. What Pup Warner team did you play for in Stockton? So I actually talked about my kind of life story or my journey to where we're at now and why you guys, tune into me and listen to me and watch me and kind of my path to getting here. But I was not someone that played a lot of Pup Warner football. I played 1 year with the North Stockton Bengals. So I am from the north side. I'm from the north side Stockton. I played for the North Stockton Bengals, but I only played 1 year. And I was third string running back. We had my guy Billy Smith, my guy Jeff Johnson, Trujillo. We had some very talented running backs, some guys that went off to high school and did some really big things. So yeah, North Stockton Bengals. We actually lost in the Super Bowl to the Modesto Chiefs or 49ers. I don't know, I can't remember, it was a long time ago. But yeah, North Stockton Bengals. Croc, if you were a 49ers GM, what position would you be focusing on in the draft this year? Oh, that's a great question. Can you, Kyle, can you bring that question back up? Because we're going to talk about a lot of Lynch's stuff. And the last thing we're talking about is the draft strategy. And then I think from that point, I could touch on what I would be focusing on in the draft. And there's some things that I have a bone to pick with Kyle Shanahan. And is he his own worst enemy? I want to get into that. So please, Kyle, please, if you're tuning in, it'll probably be about 15 minutes or so. Bring this question back up. I'll try to remember. Yes, we do have a second next year. All right, so I did see the Lynch show, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get into it right now. All right. So John Lynch, as you guys know, he was on Matt Maiocco's show. Matt Maiocco, if you guys don't follow Matt Maiocco, I follow him on Twitter. Actually follow each other. It's pretty cool. That was one of my bigger first 49er followers. I'm like, wow, Maiocco follows me. Wow, Barrows follows me. Okay, that's pretty cool. I made it. No, joking. But John Lynch was on this show and talking all things pertaining to the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm like, all right, man. The one thing that kind of early on in this interview, the one thing that kept popping up and kept being talked about, identity. And the crazy thing is that's one thing where I harped on. If you listen to the Locked On 49ers episode, it would have came out last Friday with myself and Peacock. Again, if you guys don't listen to Locked On 49ers, make sure you guys tune in. I saw somebody say Peacock. Yeah, Peacock, baby, let's go. But so the one thing that kept being talked about over and over was it was the identity and the lack thereof. Now there was one thing that stood out to me about the identity, and John Lynch said it. He said, and I guess the Patriots, they kind of talk about this, but the identity of your team can change from year to year, right? The identity of your team, it depends on, the players, who's hurt, who's not hurt, you know what I'm saying, who's healthy, guys you drafted, quarterback change. So I guess in theory, you can have a philosophy on how you want to win, but the identity of your team and who you are can kind of change from year to year. And maybe that's what we're seeing right now, right? The 49ers, and John Lynch said it over and over and over. He harped on this. They are struggling to find their identity. And we see it. And again, like I said, I talked about it on Locked On 49ers with my co-host Peacock. And I gave Kyle Shanahan a poor grade offensively. When we came to the coaches, we graded, we graded every position group. And then went from that to at the very end of it, we graded the coaches. And I gave DeMeco Ryans a minus because one, he wasn't supposed to be the one that carried this team defensively, but they have they have a 7th overall team. Last time 49ers played, 17 defensively. I thought he's done some things very well. Thought he hasn't had that much help from the offense, but DeMeco Ryans, when you look at his scheme and who he wants the defense to be and dealing with the injuries that he's had, I think he's been awesome. When you look at the other side of it, my biggest issue with the 49ers, the offense, and really Kyle Shanahan was, what's the identity? What do we as fans get behind? You know what I'm saying? What do the players, what do they get behind? And what I mean by that is, what can we hang our hat on? Typically, whether it's the Harbaugh years or even the 2019 season, the one thing that you can always count on and hang your hat on when it comes to the 49ers was they're going to be tough as hell. All right. They're going to be hella tough. They're going to run the rock and they're going to play great defense, right? Like that was the identity, like just toughness, like toughness. And anytime they've had success, like that's what they were. And it was led by the ground game and the defense. And right now, I think the issue is heading into the season, we were kind of under the impression that, well, the defense is going to take a step back, right? Like it's not going to be as good. You don't have Robert Saleh. You lost some guys, whether it was, you choose DeForest Buckner, some of these guys, right? And you're looking at it like, man, they're going to take a step back. The offense is going to have to carry the 49ers. Right there, that's the change in the identity of the team because that has not been the case. It hasn't so much been the offense has to carry them. It's the offense has complemented the defense. Right now, we're asking the offense to kind of carry the 49ers. That's identity change number one. And then it's how we do it, right? In the run game. Well, 2 carries in, you have an injury to Raheem Mostert. That could change things. That could change how, in theory, how you feel like you want to win. But when you lose your best back and a guy that you're going to be counting on to, be extremely productive throughout this year, I thought he was going to be productive as long as he could stay healthy. And it only lasted 2 plays. But I think it changed the identity and what all this has, whether it was going into the season and what we thought of the offense, the quarterback situation. I was watching Mac Jones. And it was clear to me, and I'm gonna get back to Jimmy and how I tie this into Trey Lance as well. But I'm watching Mac Jones play, and he's not doing anything special, right? In the sense of like, he doesn't have to be the playmaker. He doesn't have to be the one that's constantly trying to push the ball down the field. Now we did see Kendrick Bourne, my dog, justice for KB. KB had the long touchdown at the end of the game. But we did see that. But actually, before that play, the biggest pass play for Mac Jones was 30 yards. They hadn't had a play over 30 yards in the passing game. So what does that tell me? It's like, hey, we're giving you this kind of smaller, quote unquote, game plan to be able to execute. And can you do that? And what does that look like? So I'm watching Mac Jones, and I've watched most of his games this year. And that's the one thing that has stood out. What they are asking him to do, he has been able to execute. He's been able to, complete the short yardage, short passes. Last game, he started off like 10 to 10, right? Not doing anything crazy, not really making plays, but he's making the throws that he has to make. That's what I expected from Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, I didn't expect heading into this year, and the reason why you start Jimmy Garoppolo over a young Trey Lance who's, developing, you start Jimmy because, like, well, Jimmy, he's gonna be efficient. He's going to make the throws that you need. He's going to move the chains on third downs, right? Going to keep drives going. Maybe Jimmy's not going to make these throws down the field. That hasn't been him, so we can't expect him to do those things. But with what we're going to ask of him, which is just, hey, let's hit these little, these short passes, these 5-7 yard passes, keep the chains moving. He hasn't been that. Early on, in games, it was clear to see against the Eagles, against the Packers, where you have multiple drives of stalling, going 3 and outs. You play the Seahawks, you have one good drive to come out, and it's like, okay, that's the Jimmy that we need. And then moving forward, he's not that. Well, and again, so to tie this back into Mac Jones, I'm like, man, you see Mac Jones doing the things that is not special, but it's like, well, that's what Jimmy is supposed to be doing. But when Jimmy's not, again, that changes the identity of your team. I don't even want to say changes the identity, but it makes it to where it's even clearer you have no identity. You went into this situation thinking that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to play more like what we've seen from Mac Jones. We haven't seen that from Jimmy. It's been really up and down and really nothing that's too consistent. All right. And then there's, well, you have a third overall pick behind him. Like, what's going to happen with him? So you play him, and that kind of changes the dynamic of the offense. Again, no identity. Run game, no identity. You have a running back, Trey Sermon, who ran for almost 100 yards against the Seattle Seahawks. And then the very next week, he gets one carry for 7 yards. Now I get it, Elijah Mitchell came back. But it's like, what are the 49ers? If you were to say like one thing that the 49ers offense does well, like what would that be? And right now, I don't. They are struggling to find the identity, but it is extremely early in the season right now. And I know it seems like the sky is falling. 49ers, they're 2-3 with an opportunity right now. And I'm going to say it, 49ers, I feel like 49ers are going to win. I have a strong feeling they're going to win these next 2 games. They'll be 4-3. But they're going to have to start to find the identity. So that was one thing that really kind of jumped out to me about this interview with John Lynch and Matt Maiocco. He said it over and over. Got to find the identity. Got to find the identity. We have no identity, and he touched on why. He talked about it early. He came back to it late in the interview. Identity, identity, identity. And right now, the 49ers don't have that. They're going to have to find that over the next couple games. What's the 49ers identity going to be? So then Maiocco asked John Lynch, how to handle the quarterback situation. And the one of the first things that John Lynch said was he thinks Jimmy has raised his level of play. There's this saying where, and I've heard it, and I have to remember exactly how it's said, but it goes along the lines of, "Don't piss on me and tell me it's raining." Right? Like you don't pee on me and tell me it's raining. Like, bro, like we're watching the games. There is nothing that we've seen from Jimmy Garoppolo to say that he has raised his level of play. I think Jimmy, for what he is supposed to be, and again, I am somebody, I'm very optimistic, and I look at all these situations for what they were, right? But I'm going back to what John Lynch said on the quarterback situation when it first came up, and that was one of the first things that came out of his mouth. Jimmy Garoppolo has raised his level of play. I don't see how you can honestly say that, and maybe that's why John Lynch looked so uncomfortable throughout this meeting, because he kind of knew interview. He knew he was kind of lying to us. There's a lot of things where it's like he's trying to figure out how to like word things to where it doesn't come off as negative. And I get it. These interviews are tough, especially when your team isn't playing extremely well. But he came out and said, and that was the first thing that he said, like, Jimmy Garoppolo has raised his level of play. No, he hasn't. Cap. I agree. Big cap. So that was the first thing where I'm like, John, what are you talking about? Now you could say, hey, we need Jimmy to, we're getting him back. We're looking forward to him getting in the rhythm. There's different ways to word it without saying you think he has raised the level of play, because we all know like that's not the case. We're watching the 49ers. We're seeing how the drives go. We're seeing the stagnant offense. And we're seeing a guy who is in his, fourth or fifth year. What is it, fourth year? 4.5 years or whatever it is with the 49ers, and we're not seeing the level of execution that we would hope. Again, to go back to Mac Jones, we're not seeing the level of execution in the offense. I thought what Mac Jones looks like with the Patriots, which isn't great, but at least you can see him executing the offense. I thought we were going to get that from Jimmy Garoppolo, who's in his fourth or fifth year or whatever with the 49ers, and we're not seeing that. That's wild. Eighth year in the NFL, but with the 49ers, 17, half of 17, 18, 19, 20, and now 21. So 4.5 years or whatever it is. All right. And it's like, where's the level of execution? So that was one thing that stood out to me. And then the next thing he was kind of talking about was how do you best develop Trey Lance? And one thing that I kind of trying to read between the lines, and he talked about some things that he really liked about Trey Lance and things that he needs to improve on. And talked about, getting in and out of a huddle. Like that's something that Trey Lance has to improve on. And that's going to happen with reps. But kind of a lot what I took from it was he doesn't think that Trey Lance is necessarily ready. And I would and he's trying to figure out how do you develop him without actually him starting in games. I'm still not sure how you do that. How do you develop him and within the offense, right? Because that's the biggest thing. You can go out there and you can run the offense that the 49ers ran last week, where Trey Lance almost accumulated 300 yards of offense by himself. I think he was 83% of the offense. You can run an offense like that where he has almost 200 yards passing, almost 100 yards rushing. You can do that. But how do you develop him within the offense that you want to run for him, which is more under center stuff, more play action, boots, get those linebackers to come up, hit those deep crossers behind. I was watching Ryan Tannehill against Josh Allen. And a lot of people, they throw out the comparison with Trey Lance to, I've heard Josh Allen, and we have my guy Greg Pinelli on here, QB Mondays. We have, we talked about the Josh Allen things like that. But I'm like, man, we're looking at it like that's his ceiling, right? Like a Josh Allen type quarterback, which I'd agree. A guy that's going to miss throws and stuff like that, but he's a playmaker. He's going to make plays down the field, and we'll see as Trey Lance gets more comfortable in the offense. But a guy that we don't hear him compared to a lot, Ryan Tannehill, who is a terrific athlete coming out of Texas A&M. Play receiver at some point when they had Johnson at quarterback. Then Tannehill went back to quarterback. But it's not the sexy guy, but it's a guy who's able to effectively, be good in the offense, under center, hit those shots over the middle. And I'm like, okay, there's a little Trey Lance to Ryan Tannehill's game. And I was watching, and one thing that helped Tannehill later in that game was under center, play action, get the linebackers to come up, hit A.J. Brown behind the defense, give him some nice catch and run opportunities. That also helps when you have Derrick Henry and teams have to respect him. But the ideal offense for Trey Lance is really more so of what they already do with Jimmy Garoppolo, and then just running some of your, zone read option type stuff and some of your design run plays. You can still throw that in there, but I don't think that's something that you want to like hang your offense on. He wants to get back to traditional. So again, back to what John Lynch was saying. How do you develop Trey Lance within the offense when he's not getting reps? And clearly, they don't think he's 100% ready to be able to go in there. But how do we get him closer to being ready? Lynch is the scapegoat. I know. I agree. I mean, he's kind of the voice of the team. He's the voice of the team. Dude, what happened to Monday and Tuesday? Did you have a show? Friday, Monday, Tuesday, we did not have a show. I was in California, and if some of you guys follow me on Twitter, I was in California, and I had a flight back Monday, and I thought I was coming back Monday, but come to find out, I had an 18-hour layover. So I don't know what's going on with these flights and stuff like that, but I ended up being stuck in Denver for 18 hours. Not ideal, but I'm back. I'm here now, but that's what happened. I touched on it a little bit early on. So yeah, back to John Lynch and his quarterback situation and how is he handling it? Again, he came out, he said Jimmy Garoppolo has raised the level of his play. I don't agree. Disagree with that statement. I think Jimmy Garoppolo has not been what I expected him to be, which is efficient within the offense. All right, hasn't been that. How do you develop Trey Lance if he's not playing? But how do you develop in the process? I think that goes back to them having no identity and still trying to figure this thing out. What was the plan heading into the season? I think that's the better question. Was there never a plan to play Trey Lance this season? Was there not a plan to do? Because it seems like that's something that there's just there's no plan to do it. It's like, what What's going on there? So they got to figure that part out. He said this whole situation is going to have to play itself out. So what I took from that when John Lynch said that was the 49ers are going to stick with Garoppolo. And when Garoppolo fails, or if he fails, then we're going to throw Trey Lance in. I think that was John Lynch's idea of saying we're going to have to let this quarterback situation play itself out. He wants to, play whoever gives this team the best chance to win. And right now, it sounds like they feel like that's Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's weird because in theory, I agree with him. In theory, I say, yes, Jimmy Garoppolo gives you the best chance to win. And that's what Shanahan, and John Lynch said. That's what John Lynch said in the Maiocco interview. But I think how Garoppolo has played says something a little different. So then, and again, if you guys aren't already, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Right now, we're going over John Lynch's interview with Matt Maiocco and some of the things that were talked about in that interview. And once I get done with my little spiel, obviously, I'm going to open up the floor for y'all to come on and be able to talk and speak your piece on what your thoughts were in this whole situation. But you look at it, and the next thing he talked about was Brandon Aiyuk. And I think I'll lump Brandon Aiyuk, Ambry Thomas, and Aaron Banks kind of all together because he kept going back to this. And we talked about this on Locked On 49ers. If you guys didn't listen to it, make sure you guys listen to Locked On 49ers this morning. But he kept going back to the fact that, like, oh, yeah, we're going to need this guy down. We're going to be good. We're going to need him. We're going to need him. And it's just like, yeah, we can see him being a big part of what we do moving forward. And it's like, well, yeah, you would hope that's the case. But why does it look like what it looks like right now? And we'll get into this draft strategy and on some of the, these guys with Ambry Thomas, Aaron Banks, the receivers, how they've drafted, what the receiver room looks like. I want to get into that. Is Kyle Shanahan, is he his own worst enemy when it comes to the draft process? How involved is he? Because John Lynch has said that's his baby. But you're looking at Brandon Aiyuk and what he's going through right now. And it's weird because early on, when guys in the media alluded to the fact that is he in the doghouse, right? And I know some people are tired of hearing that word, the doghouse word, but guys alluded to the fact that, hey, is Aiyuk in the doghouse? And you had Kyle Shanahan come out like, oh, no, he's kind of dealt with some injuries, but guys behind him had played well. And John Lynch kind of echoed that sentiment in this interview where John Lynch was like, well, he had kind of had some rough patches with injuries, and he had some guys behind him that are playing well. The first thing that came to my mind was, all right, you had some guys behind him playing well, and I'm assuming that they're talking about Trent Sherfield. If Trent Sherfield played so well, which he did look good, he looked good in camp, he looked good in preseason, he making plays all over the field, making catches, he looked good. But if he was playing so good and he's holding off Brandon Aiyuk, where is Trent Sherfield's production? So it would be one thing if you're telling me, oh, you had some guys that are playing well, and we're trying to play those guys, and we're trying to play Aiyuk, and we're trying to get Aiyuk out of this, rut that he's in or whatever. But where's Trent Sherfield's production that's supposedly like good enough to hold off Brandon Aiyuk? We haven't seen that. What did Trent Sherfield have? Maybe 2 catches, 3 catches. One of them was a touchdown. Aside from that, what has he done? A guy who it seemed like he was ready to really take on the challenge. Trent ain't getting targets. Exactly. So it's like if Trent Sherfield is not getting targets, that's the guy that was supposed to hold Brandon Aiyuk off. Brandon Aiyuk, and we could talk about him, how he hasn't been producing and the issue and stuff like that, but he's actually on the field. He's playing a high percentage of the snaps. He's playing a high percentage of snaps. He's not getting the ball. Now, part of that is, and we know how Kyle Shanahan operates. If Kyle wants to get you the ball, and he wants to design plays for you to get the rock, he can do that, and he does do that. He hasn't really done that for Brandon Aiyuk. But they tell us everything is fine. But then when we look at the situation and the results of things and the production, it ain't there. Got my guy Trice. He says, hey, clear out routes. He's on the field, but clear out routes. The Aiyuk situation is weird to me because, and I understand what goes into being a receiver. And these are the things I think it would be easier if they just came out and said, Aiyuk's not playing because he's busting on his routes, not running the right routes, not running his routes at the right depth. He needs to improve on those things. I think if they just came out and said that, it would probably be easier to understand exactly what he's going through, because that is a lot of the issue when you have receivers come in as rookies and some of the things that they go through. I talk about my time with the New York Jets, and I remember watching the receivers, and I got tight with my guy Joe Collins. And I remember watching the receivers and Joe Collins and some of these guys, and they walk around the facility with these flashcards. And on the flashcards, it shows all these different things with routes and adjustments off of routes and things depending on the coverage that they're seeing and how that changes their route, or how that changes the depth. And I wonder if those are things that maybe Aiyuk isn't doing well, but it's like, even if he's not doing those things well, when you throw him the ball, he's catching the ball, he's making plays. So it's almost like they can keep telling us that it's something with Brandon Aiyuk, but when he is in there and gets the ball, it looks like he does well and he's making the most of his opportunities. The targets aren't coming, and they continue to tell us that it's something that he's not doing. It's a weird situation with Brandon Aiyuk, and I'm not truly understanding the dynamic of what's going on with this. I don't understand what's going on with this receiver, with the Brandon Aiyuk situation. Again, they're saying, well, he has to come along, he has to do this, he has to do that. Okay, and I think in the first game it made more sense to me, because in the first game you had Trent Sherfield play as many snaps as Brandon Aiyuk. It was almost like they split snaps. So if you want to tell me that Aiyuk has pushed him to be on the field, and that's why, Trent Sherfield has pushed Aiyuk to be on the field, and that's why we're not seeing the production from Aiyuk, I get it. But after that, Aiyuk has played way more snaps than Trent Sherfield, and still the production isn't there. But he's on the field. He's on the field. Like if he was Ambry Thomas, and we'll get to him. Ambry Thomas is not on the field, right? Ambry Thomas has to get better at certain things. He has to improve in certain areas. He's not ready. Maybe he has to work harder. Okay, and he's not active. So we get it. He's not active. But when it comes to Aiyuk is on the field, and he's on the field more than any of those other receivers. But it's like the plays aren't being designed for him. I don't know. That's the weird part. Someone said, Croc, I heard you got into it with one of your coaches. You told him to step outside. That was in college. Definitely not in the pros. I've seen stuff like that happen at the professional level too, though. So, here we go. We got a contribution here. Football Academy shows plays from last year and this year is Brandon's route running. Okay, so Johnny Dale's Football Academy YouTube channel. So make sure you guys, I'm not familiar with Johnny Dale's Football Academy YouTube channel, but if you guys haven't, go tune into that. And he's showing, is Brandon Aiyuk's route running? That's the issue. I appreciate the contribution. I appreciate that. Johnny Dale's. I don't know if I can. I gotta figure out how to. Let me take a picture with my phone real quick. Hold on, because I wanna make sure that I check that out. Boom. All right. Here we go. Oh, here's another contribution. Someone on YouTube did a film review on Aiyuk comparing last year this year. It is clear he has regressed. He gives away his routes. All right, so that could be the Johnny Dale's guy. So make sure you guys, and I appreciate the contribution, make sure you guys check out Johnny Dale's YouTube channel. Here it is right here. All right, Johnny Dale's Football Academy YouTube channel, and he's breaking down what Brandon Aiyuk is and isn't doing, and as it pertains to route running. That's something that's definitely intriguing, and I got to watch that. But I'm curious, but I think my biggest question is, again, I think it comes back to them like they're pissing on us and they're telling us it's raining, and we don't think that's the case. I'm going to get into my last topic before I open up the floor to you guys. But make sure you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We got 150 of y'all in here, and I should have 150 likes. All you got to do, click down the live chat for a second, hit that like button, and then get back into the chat. I appreciate it. Helps with the algorithms. I've learned that now. I used to not know why people said like and all that stuff, but make sure you, if not already, hit that subscribe button as well. All right, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Locked On 49ers. Make sure you guys listen to that. I appreciate everybody that's in here. I appreciate everybody that has put in the contributions and has contributed to the show in any way, shape, or form. All right. So here we go. Right now, about to get into the last topic, and it's the draft. And it's a strategy. And this is one of the things, again, that John Lynch, again, this is, and what we've been going over is the John Lynch, his interview with Matt Maiocco. And we've touched on the identity of the 49ers, how they're handling the quarterback situation, Brandon Aiyuk. These are all things that he touched on in the interview. And now the draft strategy and how they can improve on high picks. And one thing that came out right away was Ambry Thomas and Aaron Banks, and how these are guys that are just not playing. A lot of times healthy scratches. These were guys that were high draft picks. I want to come out and say I did not like the Aaron Banks pick to begin with. Never liked it. I didn't think he was a fit. And I talked about it. Once I watched it, obviously Locked On 49ers, we touched on it. Yeah, Aaron Banks, who's a big mauler. That's what he is. He fit more of the Pittsburgh Steelers style offense, where it's more of a power run scheme, straight ahead. He'd probably be awesome in that. But these schemes where you need him to move off in space, I'm like, that's not him. You know, they told us that. Now you could tell us that he's big, but he moves like a smaller guy, like a Trent Williams. He doesn't. He doesn't. He's big and he moves like a big person. He moves like a big, slow person. His feet, I didn't think they were terrific. I think he was a wall, right? Like if you see him right now at the line of scrimmage and you have a guy in front of him and he doesn't have to move and the guy doesn't give him anything, he's going to stonewall him. Boom! Not moving. But if a guy gives him anything right now and he has to kind of use his athleticism to kind of mirror match the movements to stay in front of guys, he couldn't really do it and he'd just grab a guy. Or if you pull, because sometimes they'll pull a guard from one side to the other. When he's pulling, you watch him, and I'm like, damn, this is the third time I've seen him fall, just trying to get to a point to make a block. And a lot of times when he didn't make the block, when he didn't fall, he just couldn't get there. So they're telling us about this improved athleticism on him. And I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm not seeing that. All right, big mauler. Could be good in a Steelers offense, power scheme. But with what the 49ers ask, I didn't see the fit. So you had him, you had Ambry Thomas. Both of these guys not playing. Ambry Thomas, I will say, the biggest transition for Ambry Thomas, in my opinion, was, when he had to play off coverage. That was something that he just did not do a lot at Michigan. So if you were going to ask him to do a whole lot of off coverage, I thought, we'll see how it works out. Now, again, this is a guy who's a much later pick than Aaron Banks. This is a guy who really, if it weren't out for comp picks, he would have been a 4th round pick. So my expectations on Ambry Thomas were that of someone that was picked in more of the 4th round. Wasn't a high draft pick or anything like that. But he possessed this ability, and he's a guy who did not play last year. I get it. But they're not playing. And with Ambry Thomas, I at the very least thought if it were more of a press man scheme, he'd excel and do well there. That hasn't been the case. He's been beat. Press man, he's been beat. Off cover, he's been beat every which way. And that's been something that's a little bit more shocking, I guess you could say. Wasn't expecting to see that. But neither guy's playing. So Maiocco was asking them, can you look at your, is it something that you guys are doing? And John Lynch said, yeah, we've had to look at ourselves and evaluate ourselves and look at our hits, look at our misses. And we have an idea as to why some of these things are happening. And it's on us to, continue to change that. And moving forward, I guess they're supposed to be doing that. Sometimes I guess, and if I want to give them a pass on this, I'd say sometimes it does take time to figure things out. We're talking about a guy like John Lynch, who's a first-time GM, and he's brought in guys like Adam Peters and stuff, and he's assistant GM or assistant to the GM or whatever he is. You have Kyle Shanahan. He's been involved in these things and has more say-so now. But the draft is John Lynch's baby. So when it comes to the draft, and we're talking about some of the early misses or early hits or whatever it is and how it's going, I put that all on his shoulders, good or bad. It's on you, John. Okay, this is your baby. You said that, right? Now the quarterback thing, that's Kyle Shanahan, quarterback, and John Lynch came out and said it. Like, yeah, they're drafting my baby, but I'd be a fool to tell Kyle Shanahan what quarterback to take, right? So Kyle Shanahan, Trey Lance, like that's his pick. But aside from that, these other guys, I put this on you, John Lynch. I put it on you drafting Aaron Banks much higher. And it's crazy because I'm watching these other guys that were drafted, these interior guys, centers, guards. They're drafted later than him, and they're doing well. Matter of fact, 49ers drafted a tackle in the 5th round or 6th round. He's playing more than Aaron Banks. He's active on game days. When Trent Williams went down, he was the guy that came in for Trent Williams. He's filling in. There's like nothing for Aaron Banks. And I assume it's because he's not athletic enough. That's what it looks like to me. I'm curious to see how he improves on that aspect of it. But what are the 49ers missing with their draft philosophy? I look at and I see the whole draft was trash. I disagree. Now, we can hold off on Trey Lance, and obviously I think he's extremely talented, and we'll see how he progresses. But and I think he shows a lot of things that you would like to see, and obviously some things where it's like, oh, it looks like a rookie, but according to other rookies, he's playing well. All right, other quarterback. But I say it's not trash because you have Diamador Lenore, he can play. And I like Diamador Lenore. I think that was a good pick. I think he's going to be a nickel for a long time with the 49ers. Next year, starting nickel, it'll be Diamador Lenore. I have no doubts about that. He's going to be a starting nickel. Doing well. We'll see with Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell. I think they both come in and they have been productive, right? Again, I talked about Sermon, a guy who against the Seahawks ran for almost 100 yards. Productive, right? That's a guy you got in the 3rd round. Maybe hasn't played as much as you would like, or, for whatever reasons, I don't know. But when he did play and he had his chunk of plays, he was very productive. Almost 100 yards on the ground. So that's not a trash pick. So they got 2 picks. Diamador Lenore, Sermon, solid. Elijah Mitchell, he's been solid. We're talking about a guy who looks like he's going to be the 49ers lead back, and he's going to be the guy moving forward at that position. So I think when you look at it out of this draft, it's like, all right, I got a tandem of running backs moving forward, which I think those would be the guys. Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, that's going to be the 1-2 punch moving forward. You got that. Diamador Lenore, you got a starting nickel moving forward. He's going to be the starting nickel moving forward. It's a good pick. You got Hufanga, who's been playing more. Made a key play in the game against the Cardinals with the containment on Kyler Murray. I think he's going to continue to progress. And I like where he's headed. More. Again, he was the guy that came in for Trent Williams. Is there something there for him long term? So I think it comes off weird because your top 3 guys aren't consistently playing, right? They haven't been starters. When you look at Trey Lance, you look at Banks and Thomas, it's weird there. But after that, I think the other guys, I think you're getting some good stuff out of them. So I wouldn't say that this whole draft was trash. I wouldn't say that. I think it's tough too because, again, one, they're rookies, and you would like to see guys really contributing. And right now, your biggest contributors are the running backs, which is more of a plug and play guy. But I like Diamador Lenore. There's something there. I think he's going to be big time as a nickel. So I don't know. I don't know how we're saying that they whiffed on the draft when you have running backs that have been productive. They're doing well. You got Diamador Lenore, who it looks like he's going to be a starting slot. He started outside. I thought he played very well, considering he's more of a nickel guy, but played on the outside, held his own a lot of the times. Little hiccups here and there on some misunderstanding how to play certain things against the Packers. But for the most part, I like what I've seen from him. I think ideally they just want him to be a nickel guy. I think he'll be good at that. So I don't think they whiffed. But where I do, here we go. You can't gloss over those 2 big balls though. You can't gloss over the 2 big balls. But if you guys have been listening to me and I've talked about it, but if you guys have listened to me and I've talked about it, and I appreciate the contribution. I've talked about where I thought Diamador Lenore lacked most was his deep speed. So to me, and I could tell because a lot of times he kind of struggled to get his head around, and he played the ball. We saw it in the preseason. They took several deep shots on him. They were incomplete, but then he gave up the deep balls in the game. And to me, it was, well, he lacks that big speed. So what are your expectations for him? If he had more deep speed, he'd be a legit pure outside guy. He doesn't quite have that, but I think he is going to be a really good because of his coverage skills. Once he understands how to play in space and what's asked of him, filling in the run game from the slot, understanding how to play to his space and use his leverage in that spot, he's going to be a terrific nickel. Terrific nickel. Terrific. Can't gloss over the two big balls, but I don't think that's who he is, being a guy that's going to cover guys vertically. But I think the draft strategy, and they've kind of been all over the place because in their first draft, they draft Solomon Thomas. And Solomon Thomas comes in and it's like, all right, he's supposed to be the smart guy and, high floor, maybe not as high of a ceiling, could possibly be a Aaron Donald type guy. That's what people were thinking, but they drafted him to be defensive end, and it clearly was not that. That was a big miss. And then you drafted Reuben Foster. So now you're drafting a high character guy, and then you're drafting a low character guy when it comes to Reuben Foster. So it's like they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we want to do these things? They want these guys that are more, they fit more from a personality standpoint and all that. They went high on the end of one and then low on the other side. And he flamed out real quick, right? He was gone before the second year was up, he was out of there. Talking about Reuben Foster. And you've seen some of the other guys that they've picked, but it seemed like they have been leaning more towards high character guys, high character, and they valued that over anything else. And I think it stems from the Reuben Foster miss. And I think when you do that, it's like at some point it's like, do you get away with it? And they've had misses, and you look at Kinlaw. I'm not saying Kinlaw's a miss. And I don't know what's going on. I saw somebody ask about Kinlaw's Instagram. I don't know what the hell. I don't know. I don't even want to look into that because I don't know what the hell he's talking about. But Kinlaw was a guy who wasn't, I don't want to say he's a bad character guy, but I spoke to people from South Carolina, somebody very close to the situation. And I think he had a rough upbringing, and he kind of talked about his, being homeless and those type of things. And I think, like, from what I'm understanding and kind of the knowledge I've gained, from the day to day, you might not know which Kinlaw you're going to get from a mental standpoint. Just like if he's okay, if he's happy, he's in good spirits, that's kind of up and down. And I don't know if that's kind of attributed to his play being kind of, really regular when you have opportunity to get. I thought the 49ers drafted CeeDee Lamb. And I thought they were drafted CeeDee Lamb when they took Kinlaw. So, and I don't know. After the first year, it wasn't looking like a bad pick how they did it. Yeah, Kinlaw, he's looking on the up. Aiyuk had a very, very good rookie year. But since then, I don't know what's going on. And he had to look at himself. I'm pretty sure, Kyle, they're looking at it, and they're like, how do we improve on this? How do we improve on where we're at, how we're drafting, with the hits that we have, the misses that we have? I know they're looking deep into it, and they're going to have to figure it out. Why have they been better? I don't want to say they've been better in later rounds and early rounds, because I think if you look at most teams, it's pretty much the same. I think most teams around the NFL, you only have so many high picks, right? You got like a first round, a second round. You tend to have more mid-round picks. So most guys that pan out on teams are really more mid-round picks, and you're a little bit more hit and miss on your early round picks. So when we look at the 49ers, and it's like, well, they missed on Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. But then it's like, well, they came back and they did good with, McGlinchey, solid. You probably would want to improve on him, but he's solid. McGlinchey, he started every game. So I think from that standpoint, like, that's a win, right? A guy who has started every game since being with the 49ers. And then you look at Bosa, obviously terrific player. Terrific player. Deebo Samuel, early round pick, he's done well. Aiyuk, we'll figure out what's going on. I don't know what he was as a rookie. it was like that was a win. He was terrific as a rookie. Can we get back to that? But I think they've been as hit and miss as other teams. And I think with the 49ers, we're so locked in on every pick with the 49ers and everything that goes on with the team that we don't look outside of the 49ers and realize that a lot of these other teams go through the same things. A lot of these other teams go with there's a 50% hit rate on first round picks. 50%. Every year, 50%. Every year, 50% first rounds pan out and half of them don't. But I think we look at the 49ers and if you look at the 49ers, it's pretty much aligns with that, right? Half the 49ers first round picks have been solid and another half haven't. So I don't think they're doing any better or worse than any other teams, but I still think you want to strive to be as perfect as possible and not miss on things and look in the mirror and figure out where you can improve. I just saw somebody say McGlinchey is trash. I don't think McGlinchey's trash. I think for McGlinchey was brought in to be, he does a good job of doing that. We knew he was a great run blocker. We knew he had to improve as a pass protector. In the NFL, he's been a great run blocker and he's had to improve as a pass protector. But anytime you get a guy who has started 4 years for you, I think that's a win. That's not a bad football player. Solomon Thomas couldn't start for 4 years, right? That's a miss. Reuben Foster couldn't start for 4 years. And there's a lot of other guys around the league guys that are drafted first round and they don't start, let alone 4 years straight. So when you look at it from that standpoint, I get it. We want to look at everything that McGlinchey is not, but he is a starting tackle in the NFL. And like our guy Rocky Mountain Razorback said, 69 will be in this league for a long time bearing injury. I agree. Now, that's not to say that we don't want to improve on him. Of course you do. But he's not terrible. He's not trash. I think my issue, and I'm kind of looking at how the 49ers receiving core is built, and I look at some of these other teams that are kind of like successful, and I'm like, man, you look at the Rams, or you look at the Seahawks, and I heard, what's his name, Dimitroff, he was the GM of the Falcons a couple years back, and he was talking about what they like to do as their receiver with their receiver group, and he was talking about how they want a basketball team, right? They want a basketball starting lineup, and they want to have different styles of play. And I think that's where the 49ers, and this is where Kyle Shanahan can kind of get in his own way, because me personally, I like the receivers that Kyle Shanahan likes. I've been big on the fact that it does not matter how big or tall or whatever, it's just, can you win? But looking at the 49ers receiver core right now, I've kind of changed my tune a little bit, and this is me learning. There's not enough diversity within that room. You have too many guys that are similar. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk, Trent Sherfield, and I mean, we can kind of lump Sanu in there. They are similar from the standpoint of they win similar ways. Now, one wins better than the other, right? When Deebo Samuel wins better in every way than the other guys, but they all win similar ways where they're not like these pure speedsters, but then they don't have this size, but then they're not like just guys that consistently whoop you on routes. They're pretty much all like the same kind of guy. And I think that's one thing looking back on even me. I've liked a lot of the receivers that Kyle Shanahan has taken. But if it were up to me right now, I have to kind of go outside of that and do some, self-evaluating and realize I think I need to change part of what I'm doing here when it comes to how I'm evaluating the receivers. I need more diversity within that position. If I'm John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan right now, I go out next year in the draft or in free agency and I get me some really big targets. I remember early on, Cam Newton kind of struggled with accuracy a little bit, was a little hit and miss. And I think there were opportunities for him. What they did was they went and got Kelvin Benjamin. They went and got Devin Funchess, and they went and got Ted Ginn Jr. And different guys, right? You got the big guys, the 6'5", 6'6" guys on the outside that you don't have to be extremely accurate. You don't have to be pinpoint accurate when you have big targets like that. You can just put the ball in the area and let them go make a play. And that's what Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess did. And then you have the speedster like a Ted Ginn who is just like, look, we have these guys working in the intermediate underneath and big catch radiuses. And then we're going to send Ted Ginn vertically. And I'm just going to throw the ball as far as I can and have him run under it. And on those type of passes, you don't have to be extremely accurate. And I think the Panthers did a good job of building around Cam Newton. I would like to see the 49ers do certain things like that. Not saying that every guy has to be like that, but I would like to see them say, you know what, we're gonna get Trey Lance, some big guys, and a speed guy, and Debo, and hopefully Aiyuk, continues to improve. But I think if there's one area where I'd like to see them improve, especially in the draft, it's that, man. Get some diversity in that receiver room. The game of the NFL right now is way too wide open to not have different style of receivers and dynamic guys and make your passing game just so much easier. Get you some different guys in there. Add some diversity to that room. Here we go. Appreciate the contribution. Sermon and Mitchell are examples of why you draft running backs in 5th through 7th round only. Punter in the 4th. Banks is clearly not a fit in this game. Should have gone Asante Samuel. A lot of times I'm not big on the hindsight things when it comes to draft picks, but I'd say this. Most of 49er fan base was screaming Asante Samuel. Draft Asante Samuel. Draft Asante Samuel. A lot of 49er fan base was saying that. So I'm going to give you that. Should have drafted Asante Samuel. Now, I haven't watched Asante Samuel. I know he has made plays. He's made interceptions. He actually picked off the 49ers off a tip pass. But I haven't watched him enough to say how good he's doing or is he not. And I think sometimes when you don't look into the team every game, every play, which you guys, everybody that's in here, you're in here because you probably watch every play of the 49ers. We know exactly how well someone is or isn't playing. When it comes to other teams, we hear more so about the good than the bad. So I'm not saying that Asante Samuel is not playing well. I think he has like 2 interceptions. How is he playing on a play-to-play basis? Is he doing extremely well? I don't know that part. But I would say yes. 49er fan base was screaming Asante Samuel. So I'm going to give you that for sure. I appreciate the contribution. Jimmy Drew, he said Adams. Who said Adams is 6'5"? Who said that? Look at Adams. Look at Adams in Green Bay, 6'5". My guy Chester. Devontae Adams is he's not 6'5". Devontae Adams is 6'1", 6'1", 215 pounds. He's just hella good. He's just better than everybody. All right, I've been rambling for an hour. You guys have kind of heard all my thoughts on the interview between John Lynch and Matt Maiocco. So at this time, I'm going to open up the floor, and you guys feel free to join. There's a stream link right there. We'll open it up for the next 30 minutes. I appreciate everybody that's in here and that's tuned in. Make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. All right, the likes help with the algorithm. We got 230 people in here, so I should have at least 230 likes. I appreciate everybody listening to the show. And again, make sure you guys go listen to Locked On 49ers with myself and Brian Peacock. All right. But here we go. All back. Got my guy Dion coming on. And again, if you guys want to come on, make sure you click that link. I just posted the StreamYard link. You could join and get whatever's on your mind. So now it's your guys. The floor is yours now. Here we go. Dion. What's up, baby?
What's good with you, Croc? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Real quick, I'm doing even better because I made some money off Underdog Fantasy. So right there, I got the Underdog Fantasy.
There you go.
Promo code Crocky. All right, I put in a little a little parlay with some over-unders with the Lakers. First of all, my Lakers lost. Tough loss, especially when it's to the Warriors. Can't stand their fans sometimes. But some money, I put a parlay on. I put some money down on I had Kevin Durant. The over-under on his 3 points made were 2.5. He hit 3, so I hit on that. And then I had to get LeBron James scoring over 26 points. He did that. And then the third one was Carmelo Anthony scoring under 12.5 points, which he did that. So make sure you guys, Underdog Fantasy, there are all kind of cool stuff going on. Obviously, they got fantasy football, basketball, baseball, all that good stuff, but also player props, wagers, different things you can wager on. So Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky, CROCKY. When you deposit a minimum of $10, they'll throw $10 into your account as well. All right. So now that that's out the way, what's good, Dion, man? What's on your mind?
I'm good, man. So sorry about that layover, brother. I know that had to be challenging, man. 18 hours in the airport. Jeez.
18 hours. Now, here's the thing. I could have just went and got a hotel room. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I was like, man, I got in late. I got in at like 11 p.m. I'm like, okay, I'll take an Uber. to a hotel, pay for a hotel just to have to check out at 11 a.m. when I wake up. Am I gonna pay $100 just to kind of sleep for a few hours? You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna thug it out. I'm just gonna thug it out in the airport. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah,
man. Yeah.
tough.
I ain't never had no 18-hour layover, but I had an 8-hour layover, and believe you me, it wasn't fun. But
yeah,
uh, as far as this goes, man, it's starting to look bad to us as fans. When you watch these interviews, because they're lying, like you can tell you got to stick with your team. You can't just publicly, shame your guys. And I get it. I completely understand that. A lot of people jumped on the Lions head coach for what he talked about, how he, said that Goff had to stand, he's got to stand up or do whatever. But this is the thing. We all know you missed on Aaron Banks, period. We all know, obviously, you missed on Ambry Thomas. John Lynch's first couple of rounds of picks haven't necessarily been the greatest, like over his few years, man. And I did a video a while back on his draft picks, and how they panned out. And yeah, the fifth round is his baby. That's where he's a later round type of guy. He makes his money there. That's where those guys seem to come out and play for him. But as far as people saying anything, I'm going to say this: we all complain about the same things. The unfortunate thing we have to realize as fans is certain things ain't going to change. McGlinchey is going nowhere. As much as we don't like his pass protection, he's going to be our starting right tackle. That is not about to change. People, we got to understand it and live with it. Yes, Jalen Moore comes in and he's played way better than, Aaron Banks. And Aaron Banks is consistently inactive. Ambry Thomas consistently inactive. Diamador Lenore active. Remember, he's got ties to Deion Sanders. As far as the Asante Samuel Jr. thing, I have a diehard Charger fan who is like my brother. I've known this dude since the 6th grade. Let me tell you something. The kid is balling. Outside of the basic little rookie mistakes here and there, growing pains, he is balling on every rep. Like he's not when we're screaming that we want him, we are validated in that because the kid just does it. So for me, it gets harder and harder to watch these interviews because like you can tell John is looking like, man, I know I'm getting blamed for all this. And I know I am the scapegoat. And I don't really know what to tell you, Matt Maiocco, because Maiocco isn't pulling punches. He's not asking your basic questions. He's asking the hard questions like, bro, he's basically saying in so many words what we're saying as fans. What the hell are y'all doing? What are you guys doing, man? Because at this point, it looks like we're starting to lean toward, is the season just going to become a wash because you guys are so in on forcing Jimmy Garoppolo out there? And yeah, you gonna say that Jimmy Garoppolo has raised his level of play? We are 2-3. The man's played 4 games. What level of play did he raise? I'm sorry, John. I know you got to back your guy, but you got to use different, like you said, Croc, you got to use different choice of words to be able to describe certain things. And I'm gonna keep it a buck with you and people out there. Mark my words. Mark this day. They will hold on to Jimmy Garoppolo as long as they can to get the highest amount of draft capital that they can until they got to pay him, and they'll cut him next year. That is what they will do. They will hold on to him to whatever time limit it is, before they have to actually give him his money, and it's guaranteed, so they can try to get the highest draft capital for him. They've been trying to get a first-round pick for him forever. It's not going to happen. We all know that. You probably going to get a 4th, maybe a 5th. If you get 2 picks for Jimmy, you lucked out. But the thing is we have to figure out where we're headed, where we're going, and what we're going to do. We did, Chris. I know we kind of seem to come together and then come apart, man. I like you, brother. I really do, and I like your picture. Your picture swagged out like the tie and everything. We did miss on Thomas and Banks. You know why? Banks was a second-round pick. Second-round picks 9 times out of 10 are on the field producing in some way, shape, or form, and/or they are at least active on games. This young man is not active. Ambry Thomas is not active. He's not even playing special teams. So how can you not say we didn't miss on those dudes when they're not even active? That tells you something. That means the coaching staff doesn't believe these dudes have enough to even contribute on special teams or even be a backup on the field. That tells me they missed. Rookies typically prove themselves by playing. Talanoa Hufanga is a 5th-round pick. He on special teams. He's been on the field in games. So we definitely didn't miss on that. So how is it that Talanoa Hufanga got on the field, but you held Ambry Banks in high regard because you drafted him higher? It's typically how this works. All I'm saying is we're going to have to just suck it up this season, guys, pause and just hope and pray that this season turns out something positive. I hope and pray that Trey Lance is the starter. We develop him by getting him reps because you cannot develop a player sitting them on the sideline. It's very unfortunate, but you cannot. You cannot and you will not. And I love Trey Lance, and I think that the kid is very special. But it's like Kyle doesn't want to. And Kyle is a part of this draft process as well. He's been the reason that some of these dudes have missed. And he's part of the reason that we've taken certain guys that we definitely shouldn't have touched. So I'm not going to absolve Kyle of full responsibility with the draft because he pounded the table for certain dudes and these guys didn't pan out. We all know what happened with Reuben Foster. Unfortunately, I hope that young man gets his life together and he starts to realize that, there are certain things in life that just ain't worth it, brother. And you got to realize it, man. If the what is that good, you need to move on. Because believe me, that it ain't something going wrong there. Both of y'all are toxic for each other from what I see in the media and how things played out. You know what I'm saying? And it frustrates me as a 49er fan because I don't know where we're headed. I honestly have lost. I'm lost.
I think that's the toughest thing. Okay, real quick, and then I'm gonna get to it because we got five people waiting. So real quick, what's one thing that you're looking forward to seeing this upcoming week I don't even want to go there because we got more days in the show. We'll talk about that on Friday. But what's one positive thing you took out of the interview?
Once again, Crocky, I'm at a loss, brother. I can't give you nothing positive, man. He was fidgeting.
You gotta give me one positive.
He was he was being interrogated on the highest levels, and he folded, man. Some people, you watch those old gangster movies, and you got to be ice cold during interrogation, otherwise they suspect you and they blow your head off. He would have got his head blown off. They'd have popped. He'd have got smoked because they would have looked and been like, "You lying? You snitched. It's a wrap. Take him out and get him done." Like he didn't have the answers. And I'm sorry, after 5 years as a head coach and as a GM, you've had to figure it out. There have been, because Steve Wilkes got 1 year and they booted him and it wasn't fair. They didn't give the man time to make a roster. You've had 5 years. You cannot keep saying we're working on it. We're trying to get it together. This is a new product. No. 5 years, you should have had it figured out. The Super Bowl roster should have been built properly, and we should be winning games, not sitting with the coach that has a losing record and a GM who is flustered and flummoxed when asked the hard questions. You've got to go talk to the other GMs. Talk to the OGs, man. Talk to these dudes. Hey, man, when they ask these questions, how do you answer this? How do you, kind of move away from that? How do you shift it? Learn from your peers. That's what you do. That's how you learn in life. I learned everything I learned from older people, man. I got OGs that taught me the shit that I know. I didn't learn from cats that was younger than me. And, there are definitely times in the world where you wing it, but most of the time when you're dealing with these situations, you have to take learned experiences and apply them to whatever situation you are in. You got to grow. And that's what they've got to do, man. We can't keep taking this. And like I said, it's a hand in hand. This is Lynch and Shanahan. I'm not Shanahan. You got a losing record, sir. You truthfully do. I don't care about injuries. I don't care about this. I don't care about what you've done with Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard. Bro, your record at the end of the day is a loss. And you got to fix that. Because I don't need him to become Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher had losing records forever, and he just kept getting job after job after job. Sorry. If you're a coordinator, it is what it is. But thank you for the time, Crocky. I'll get off here yelling and ranting. You have a wonderful morning.
You're good.
Blessings and peace and blessings to you and your family, man. Glad you got home safe, my brother.
All right, appreciate you. Yeah. My guy Dion, man, always passionate about it. Let's see. It says Aiyuk Pettis played well as rookies. Look at them, and I think that's the tough thing. It's like there there's no one thing I'm learning with this, whether it's the 49ers or other, there's no right or wrong way. You just got to figure it out and you just have to try to get it right, and you look at how they've done things and, Aiyuk had success as a rookie, then he hasn't done well. But then there's other guys who didn't play as well as a rookie, and then they eventually got better. So I think at the end of the day, man, it's just getting the right guy, figuring it out, get some good football players. Do they overthink the process? I don't know, man. It's tough to say, but here we go. We got we got a few more guys waiting. Here we go. Niner Empire DMV. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up?
Hold on. So real quick, because you weren't on the last time we did this, but excuse me, there has been so much negativity surrounding the 49ers. So I would like you to come on and say, and we'll get to everything else about how you feel about everything, but tell me one positive thing about Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, man, that's hard. It's hard because, the culture that he brought to the 49ers is he brought a winning culture because of he's a legacy. He's from Mike Shanahan's son, Mike Shanahan, Coach Steve Young. So I think that 2019 season made people go, Kyle has made it. He's here. So, that was good. The thing about Kyle right now is he's not being real, but he does. The positive thing is he keeps the media out of what he's going to do. He keeps them guessing what he's going to do, and that's a good thing. You don't never want to show what your right hand is doing from your left hand. So I get that. That's a positive. The thing the main thing about Kyle is you have to make a decision about this quarterback situation. And you was warned by plenty of veteran players. Steve Young said, you shouldn't be going into a season like this. I know, for example, him and Joe Montana. But in that situation, it was different. Joe Montana, he was still playing at a top tier. Garoppolo has benefited from so many asterisks. Great defense, great run game, great scheming. And he's able to win games like that. So you have the fans, the fanatics. Well, every time he plays, he wins. Mike, they were saying that on ESPN the other morning. Well, it's a good thing that Mike said that Jimmy Garoppolo's playing because he wins. I'm like, but he wins because of other asterisks to leading him to win. The defense is putting him on a good position on the field. The running game is going great. They're averaging 6-7 yards a pop, stuff like that. The receivers are getting yak yards after every catch. So it works out for him. But when we're in a dogfight and you need him to take over the game and to manage the game and get us out of there, do you really have faith in him? And I hate to rag on him because he's not a bad quarterback. He's not available enough. And the mistakes he makes are always at the wrong time. That Green Bay game,
and
we could have won that game.
Yeah. So we have a comment right here. It says, where was the defense versus Green Bay? And I think the tough thing is when you're playing a team like that, you're only going to hold Green Bay down for so long most of the time, right?
Exactly.
But even aside from that, and the 49ers defense did an amazing job in the second half. But when your quarterback throws an interception and, sets them up in scoring position, or your quarterback throws the ball backwards, and it's like a backwards fumble, it sets them up in scoring position again, and you have these stagnant drives to start the game, it puts your defense at a disadvantage situation, right? Like puts them in a bad situation, your defense. So, when we ask questions like what's the defense against Green Bay, your defense helps your offense, or your offense helps your defense. One thing about Trey Lance, and, I think it's tough because it doesn't reflect with the points. But when you look at Trey Lance and the offense against the Arizona Cardinals, 8 out of 10 drives resulted in the 49ers being in Arizona territory. So that's them moving the ball, keeping your defense off the field, and making it to where, your defense doesn't end up on the field all the time and giving all these yards, all these points and things like that. So, when you ask where was the defense, the offense has to help the defense at times. So, that's part of it.
And look at that game. And A lot of people in my group said that, well, the defense didn't come through. I said, how many times has the defense got to bail out the offense in the Seahawks game? How many times did the defense stop Seahawks in the first half? 4 times. We couldn't score. We were stagnant. The defense is going to get burnt out after a while. You play defense for the Jets, so you should know. Playing that cornerback, you got to have a forgetful mind when you get burnt. You got to go back and do your job. But at the same time, if I'm doing my job and I'm shutting my receiver down, and we get a stop on third or fourth down, turnover on down, and then the offense give it right back to the daggone defense, like back to the defense, I'm like, come on, man. Like, it
Yeah.
gets to a point of getting frustrating. You like, man. And they've been playing, and D'Amico Ryans don't get enough credit for what he doing with the pieces he got. He's doing the best he can do. Same thing like Solid did. They doing the best they can do. All we need our offense is to establish consistency in drives. There's no consistency. There's no consistency in the receivers that we're using. And I agree with what you said earlier. You don't have a variety of receivers. Every receiver is the same. He's been doing that ever since he's been here. From Trent Taylor to Kendrick Bourne to Aiyuk, everybody's almost the same receiver. We don't have that big body receiver that can go get it. You don't have that receiver that's got blazing speed that can take the top off of a defense. And all you got is y'all receiver. Your Muhammad Sanu does good when he has 2 good receivers beside him. A big body receiver and a take the top off receiver. He can go underneath, take the yards. When you got a Kittle who is playing, they use him as a blocking tight end, but they can split him out. And then you got a person like Juszczyk that you can split out. It's still not helping the fact that you don't have a big body receiver. When DK Metcalf was in the draft, I wanted him. People's like, well, he doesn't run routes that well. He's a big body receiver. You can work on his route running. That's what you got coaches for. We have not gotten a big body receiver since T.O. Like, I mean, we don't have it. So defenses are looking at us like, well, they don't have no big body receiver. Really, and then with Jimmy, his play is check down Jimmy, so he not really going deep. So if you on defense, you're sitting there like, well, I know he ain't going deep on third down, so yeah, I'm gonna just play shallow. I'm gonna just sit back. I'm gonna just press up a little bit and wait for it to come underneath me, and I can just come down and stop it. I mean, it's predictable. Our offense has become so predictable, and it's frustrating because it's like you see Kyler Murray, how they invested into building an offense around Kyler Murray.
And look at the receivers. Everybody's different, right? Every one of them. You got the 6'4" guy in AJ Green. You got the okay, I'm not gonna get separation, but I'm gonna make all the tough catches with DeAndre Hopkins. You got the speedster with Rondale Moore, who's faster than everybody, and you've utilized him a certain way. And then you have Christian Kirk, who's a terrific slot receiver, one of the better guys, and has the ability to win vertically as well. So yeah, like with Kyler Murray and his receiver core, everybody's different. Everybody plays their role. And you have way more diversity within how they're able to run that offense.
And you just picked up Zach Ertz.
Right. And then you went and got Zach Ertz.
And what you said earlier about the draft is, look at a lot of our draft. Solomon Thomas, I don't think they look at a lot of West Coast teams. They don't look at a lot of East Coast teams. Because when they took Reuben Foster, I was against that. Because I was like, he has a lot of off-field issues. Do you really want him? And y'all are saying this, we have no tolerance and stuff like that, but you got him and he didn't even last that long. Solomon Thomas was never available. If he wasn't injured, when he was in the game, he wasn't effective. So you missed on those. You missed on a couple of them, like Trent Taylor. What did Trent Taylor really do for us? Let's really be honest. Nothing.
I got one thing for you, and I'm gonna get you out on this and get the next guy on. We got Rich waiting, we got Will waiting, and then we got one more person. Roscoe's waiting. All right, so Rich, I'm about to get you on, but who so far has been your favorite 49er pick since they've been here since 2017?
Fred Warner.
Fred Warner? Nice.
Fred Warner, because he showed progression and he learned and he became a lead. He grew into a leader. He came into the game wanting to get better. And he reminded me of Navarre Bowman, Patrick Wilson. They came into the game and they learned from their veterans and they grew into the leaders that they became. And that's what you want. And if Dre Greenlaw can stay healthy, that's a good tandem to put beside to play with. With Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, you just got to get that third linebacker. Like, I mean, the thing is, Fred Warner is the true leader of that defense. Before, it was DeForest Buckner. When DeForest Buckner left, Fred Warner took the helm. And that's what you want. You want your middle linebacker to lead the defense. I mean, that's what Ray Lewis did for the Ravens for so many years. That's what you want. Like, Fred Warner right now is the face of our defense. We go wherever Fred Warner goes. And the fact that he's a great pro and he handles himself accordingly, he's always about, building people's morale up and building the team's morale up. That's what you want. We need that from our quarterback. And we don't get that from our quarterback.
Right.
And that's the problem. Because we don't get that from our quarterback, that's why so many fans are frustrated, because we're used to seeing our quarterback be the leader and be the not the leader or face of the team. And that's your issue.
All right, man. Shoes, I appreciate you calling on. I'm gonna get the next guy on. We got Rich coming on right now, man. You already know anytime I'm on, make sure you come on, all right?
All right. Talk to you later.
I like that, man. He talked about Fred Warner, and I wanted to do that. Maybe I'll ask some of the other guys to come on, because it is so easy to point out like a lot of the misses that the 49ers have had, with the drafts, and kind of question some of their strategy. But look at, there are hits as well, right? There are guys, your two best players, I'd say Fred Warner and George Kittle. Those are, and then you got, Nick Bosa, like, terrific draft picks. Deebo Samuel, he's been one of the best receivers in the league this year. He's been extremely productive. There are guys, I talked about Mike McGlinchey. For everything he's not, I'm talking about, a guy who started 4 years and they picked up his 5th-year option. And that's tough. Like, if you're just trash, you ain't starting 4 years in the NFL, trust me. So there are the good draft picks as well that they've had, I think. And even undrafted guys. Kendrick Bourne going to New England, getting paid. You got Emmanuel Mosley. He's doing well. There are a lot of guys. All right, here we go. Rich, how you doing, man? Glad to have you on.
Good, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, man. Pretty good. Favorite 49er draft pick so far?
Me personally, George Kittle. I know people are souring on him a little bit right now, but he's always been one of my favorite guys. Just not only talent-wise, but I've loved his personality, what he brings to the team. He's always been kind of a spark plug for the offense, and he's the Yak bro. You know what I mean? It's like they're the leader of the Yak brothers. So, I think for me it's Kittle.
Oh, nice. So what's on your mind?
So, just a couple things. First, I want to talk about the draft, and then player development. I think we as fans, I think our expectation levels are through the roof, and I think when those expectations aren't met, it's met with hostility and vitriol towards, Lynch and those guys. But I think, like you said, if we take a step back and look at the big picture, teams overall don't generally draft all that well. And I think where we excel is those later round picks. And I know everyone, I've heard Dion talk about the early picks, and I get it. I mean, you got to be successful, especially when it comes to banks and things like that. But I see top players at their position come out of the draft. We've got Bosa, probably one of the top 5 defensive ends. George Kittle, top 5 tight end. Fred Warner, top 5 linebacker. I think any team would probably kill for that. And so we need to kind of realize that, and those are guys that we drafted, aside from the undrafted players, things like that. But, the other guy that I was thinking of was, Trey Greenlaw.
Right.
How instrumental was he to our success in 2019 with that huge stop in Seattle? That's going to be probably one of the biggest plays in 49ers history. And I think he was a 4th or 5th round pick, or maybe a 6th round pick, somewhere around there. So I think we focus our attention and we get so wrapped up in the failures that we sometimes forget to celebrate the successes. And I think overall the 49ers don't do that bad of drafting. Where I think they really fell is player development. And one of the things, I got on with Jesse last night. Shout out to Last Second Sports, by the way. And I touched on one thing about Shanahan, his loyalty. And I know I sent this to you as well. I think his loyalty is a hindrance. And I think that's part of the player development. And I'll tell you why. Because he's so loyal to all of his ex-players. Trent Williams, top tackle. I'm not even going to argue that. But Trent Williams is, 36 years old? He's not the future of your franchise. He's probably got 1 or 2 good years left. Not only did you give up some draft capital for him, and it was probably worth it for a year or two, but you gave up draft capital for him, and now you signed him to the largest contract for a tackle. Well, in doing that, we failed to draft a tackle of the future. We missed out on Wirfs. We missed out on other tackles that we could have had that would have been part of our future. And that's part of drafting good players and developing them. And it goes to guys like Solomon Thomas. Look at Solomon Thomas. We drafted him number 3 overall. Yeah, he didn't have the success here, but he goes on to Oakland and now he's balling out. That tells me that we're not developing players the right way in certain areas. And I think, the other thing, going back to the last caller, I think we've tried to drafting big wide receivers. I mean, we got Jawan Jennings, right? He's a big body wide receiver. Jalen Hurd, big body wide receiver. Jalen Hurd just can't stay healthy, which is, again, going back to, Shanahan's loyalty. For whatever god-awful reason, he's keeping Jalen Hurd on this roster instead of scrapping it and saying, you know what, let's go out and get another big-bodied wide receiver that can actually play. So I think that's really hurting us with player development. And I think that's not just on Lynch. It's on Shanahan, too. Shanahan is loyal to these coaches. I talked about this last night. I don't think he's ever fired a coach. Scangarello left, went to the Broncos, and, didn't find success, got let go. I get it was only a year. But then what do? We brought him back. For what? He hasn't developed Jimmy. And, I think part of that is Shanahan's loyalty to his coaching staff and to his players. And it can be good in some areas, but I think it's also a hindrance in a lot of ways because, again, like I said, we're lacking in player development. And I think some of that goes to his loyalty to, retreads like Alex Mack. I mean, we could have had a way better center this year in the draft, but we decided to go with a 35-year-old, 36-year-old Alex Mack, and look how that's playing out. So, I don't know. I'm still optimistic. I don't like to come on here and be pessimistic, but those are some observations that I'm noticing. Anyway, I'll take it off the air, see what you think. I appreciate the platform, man, and keep up the good work, bro.
Always appreciate you, Rich. All right, that's our guy, Rich. He does a good job of calling in weekly. Here we go. We got our guy Will coming on. All right, we got Will, Roscoe's, Matt, and then Ben. And we'll probably end with Ben. All right, here we go. What's good, Will? Hello? Oh, your mic's muted. There we go. Yep, can hear you now. Gotcha.
Yeah, what's going on, man? How's it going, fam?
Oh man, I'm chilling, man. What's we've been talking about the draft. We talked about really just the interview with Kyle. Oh, real quick. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We got 250 people in here. And I looked at the likes and there was not 250 likes. It was like 100 and something. So make sure if you haven't already, just click down the little chat, hit that like button, and then get back into the live chat. All right. But we've been talking about the John Lynch and Matt Maiocco interview and a lot of the takes. One thing that definitely a lot of people, you could tell they felt a certain type of way about it was the draft aspect of it and the hits and the misses and kind of where they're at with that. So I want to ask you real quick, who's been your favorite draft pick so far? Because I think obviously we could point out the misses in every class, but there's been some hits in every class. What's been your favorite one so far?
So far been Nick Bosa, man. When you look at the 49ers these past few years, man, we've been like dying for edge rushers. Because during the earlier part of Shanahan's career with the 49ers, we had Cassius Morris, Dakota Watson, and they just weren't getting the job done. I think Eli Harold was on the team as well, I think, under the Shanahan regime. I'm not sure. I think he was, but I'm not sure. But
I think Harold, he's ready to talk too. He just posted on Twitter like he's about to get his own podcast because he got some things to say. I'm gonna try to get him on the morning show at some point.
Oh, okay. That's what's up.
Go ahead.
But yeah, man. It's Bosa, man. Like when you see Bosa, bro, Bosa just like it's just pure God given talent, man. The way he gets off that line and disrupt quarterbacks, forces quarterbacks to make mistakes out there, and also Bosa just getting to them. You know what I'm saying? It's something that we've been missing for a long time. So I think it's Bosa. And Bosa's going to be a Niner for a long time, and he's going to continue to help us on that defensive side of the ball. But yeah, man, I seen the John Lynch interview, and it's it's like, bro, like I ain't buying nothing what he's talking about. I mean, Matt Maiocco asked him straight up, like, do you think you all have a crisis? He said he says no, but then at the same time he scratches the back of his neck, bro. Like, come on, man.
We've all been there, right? When your girl or your wife asks you a question and you lying, and you're trying to think of like on the spot, you're trying to stay calm, but think about what it is that you really want to say, and you're trying to make something up. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, like on Tommy when they asked Tommy, do you have a job? And he'd be like, all right.
Yeah.
And then he scratches the back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Man, ain't nobody buying that. But yeah, man, it is a crisis. Like to be honest with you, it is a crisis. Because first of all, you pay a quarterback of Jimmy Garoppolo. He played 5 games when he comes to the organization, and you give him all that money. After 5 games, you didn't franchise tag him to see what he was really about. The next year coming, and then that year he gets hurt. And then on top of that, Solomon Thomas, you draft Solomon Thomas because you went to school with him. You traded to get Reuben Foster. Reuben Foster is always getting hurt, and he had often field issues with his lady. You miss on Patrick Mahomes. You miss on the Deshaun Watson. Kyle Shanahan, he's involved in this too because he was swearing up and down. He was getting Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins didn't come here. Then John Lynch goes over there, make a phone call to New England, bring Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jimmy Garoppolo can't do nothing for us on this team. And I mean, it's shambles. It's all in shambles, and they just gonna have to. We have to hold these guys accountable. We just have to. As fans, we have to hold these John Lynch and Kyle accountable, man. And how many times are we gonna sit up there and ask John Lynch why we didn't get this particular free agent, and he turns around and says, well, we looked into it, but we wasn't able to close it. I mean, how many times? I mean, don't he get tired of saying that? Like, I'm just so sick and tired of him trying to do due diligence on players, and we don't never get the job done. You know what I'm saying? Deshaun Watson. Now, I think they would have got Deshaun Watson if he wouldn't got caught up in that stuff, but that fell through. But at the same token, you get Matthew Stafford. I mean, Kyle Shanahan. If I'm in Cabo, bro, I'm in Cabo living it up. I'm lit. I'm turned up. I'm about to go out there. I spent all my money to go out there. I'm having a good time. But you out there and you spending 2 weeks in Cabo looking at Stafford film, and you didn't even get him. You know what I'm saying? You wasted all that time in Cabo, bro. I would have been living it up. And you spent your time on the computer looking at film of him, and you didn't even get him. So it's just it's crazy, man. And then on top of that, you let it be known to Jimmy that you don't want him by trying to look into Stafford, Donald, all the other quarterbacks to try to move him, and you didn't get none of those guys to replace him. Now you stuck with him for this year, and Jimmy's not doing nothing better than he was before. I mean, Jimmy.
What do you think about when John Lynch said that Jimmy has raised his level of play?
Man, look, see that statement right there. He needs to go back to the broadcast booth. He need to go back to the broad. I forgot he said that part. So for him saying that, he needs to go to the broadcast booth because John Lynch, he's not a good GM, and I'm gonna stand here today and say that he's not a good GM. He needs to go back to the broadcasting booth. He don't know how to put no team together. He really don't. Adam Peters needed to be in that GM seat. They didn't move him up to assistant general manager for nothing. He needs to be in that seat, my opinion. Because once you build a roster and you go to the Super Bowl, you're supposed to be consistently winning each and every year. Be contesting for playoffs and Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, man. And I think something needs to be done. I really do, because it don't make any sense for you build a roster, you know what I'm saying, and you make it to the Super Bowl, and then the year after that, I understand everybody got hurt the season after the Super Bowl. I get that, but you know what I'm saying. And then this is another thing: revenge tour. Now, Kyle Shanahan said, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Okay, now you see the roster that you built that got us to the Super Bowl. We didn't win it, right? So why would you bring the same type of players back? That means that you have to bring in better players that can come in and get us over that hump. You know what I'm saying? Bring in better players to where if we get to the Super Bowl again, we'll have the players to get over that hump. But what they do, they brought the same players back, and they're the same players that we went to the Super Bowl with and lost. So you know what I'm saying? That's another thing. So at the end of the day, Kyle and John right now is just like they just walking around with a chicken with their head cut off. They don't know what they're doing. And then now you got Kyle Shanahan who want to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is garbage to me. He garbage, bro. I'm just gonna say it. He ain't gonna never be what better he is in 2019. And every time somebody try to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, you got the Jimmy G fans who want to say, what about the defense? I'm so sick of the blame the defense narrative every time we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. But when it comes to Trey Lance, everybody want to bash Trey Lance. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Trey Lance is the future. Get over it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, Kyle got to realize that too. And Kyle Shanahan got to realize that you don't use your future quarterback to be a running back. You don't do that. That's why he hurt now. You know what I'm saying? Because you put up on yourself to where you wanted to make things comfortable for him out there on the field by giving him the plays he did at North Dakota State. But at the same time, he was playing on the center. You have him out there playing shotgun the whole game and just running him everywhere. I understand Lance ran a lot of quarterback power at North Dakota State, but at the same time, he played on the center, and he had this kid out there playing shotgun, and had his mama sitting up in the stands having a heart attack, talking about, "Oh, my baby." You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it is what it is, bro. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch ain't doing a good job right now, and we gotta hold them accountable for that. I mean, it is what it is, bro.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna get the next caller on, but I know a lot of people appreciated your input on what you were talking about just now.
All right, fam.
All right, Will. Here we go. We got Ben coming on. Ben, what's good, man? I know you've been patiently waiting.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So real quick, and I've been asking everybody. I did this last week where I was asking everybody to come on and say like one positive thing about Kyle Shanahan. So I'm gonna ask you to do the same thing. Tell us one thing that you just love about Kyle Shanahan.
I don't think he's had a great track record lately. But one thing that I love about
Hold on. When I ask you to say something positive about him, you can't come on and say, well, he doesn't have a good track record right now. You got to just come out and say something positive about him.
No, you know what I love about Kyle Shanahan is his creativity. Because I think there's not a lot of coaches like Kyle in the NFL who are not just going to go and, I feel like, now you always hear about NFL coaches stealing from other NFL coaches. Well, I feel like all the coaches are stealing from Kyle still, even to this day. So that's one thing that I got to give Kyle credit for. I don't think you can deny that. And I just think he has to do a better job of implementing it this season, because I think we saw him do it with Nick Mullen, CJ Beathard, those guys. So I think he's just got to be willing to unleash the playbook. And part of the reason that I think he hasn't fully done it is because of, the fact that they've just been like, they've had two different objectives this season. It seems like a certain part of the organization, the locker room, the team, whatever, is trying to win the Super Bowl or win as much as possible or get to the playoffs this year, just a winning year, right? Then the other part of this team is so focused for the future. And that's kind of the problem I've had all season. And it kind of took me the bye week to realize that if you have that kind of attitude as a team, you're going to go nowhere because you're trying to do two things at once. And I think, I heard you talking earlier, and I wrote a whole article about the recent draft that they did, and specifically, you look at their day two, man. It's really frustrating, especially I know I've talked with you before about the whole Asante Samuel corner thing, not picking a guard later on. Not even that to me is the most frustrating part. You look at like a guy like Trey Sermon, he's a perfect example of the 49ers haven't learned their own strengths yet. They should only be taking those kinds of, running backs in the late rounds and getting undrafted guys. And they've shown their ability to go and get those guys. So I don't understand them going up and trading up for a Trey Sermon type guy when they know they can get an Elijah Mitchell type 3 rounds later. That's kind of the issue I have with this regime. I mean, you look at it's the same thing with the interior of the defensive line, right? You look at Kinlaw versus a guy like DJ Jones. There was no reason to draft Kinlaw, given the fact that they could produce these interior defensive guys in the 4th, 5th, 6th round all the time. So I don't really understand some of the value that they place on certain positions over others. And then they just double up like they did in this past draft on certain positions over and over. And then the players that they took second at those positions end up doing better than the players they took first at that position. So it's just kind of ironic and it's frustrating also. But yeah, I really want to see where this regime goes moving forward, because I was talking about this on Twitter yesterday, Croc, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, because I really think, people have issues with all the personnel decisions, right? Which I think is important to bring up, and I'm right there with them. But I think the problem is you can't get rid of one person in the organization without just cleaning house, in my opinion. Like, I don't think you can just get rid of John Lynch and say, oh yeah, we'll just bring in a GM and everything will be fine. I don't think that's how it would work, because we know how much power this organization has given Kyle. And then we wouldn't want them to just promote Adam Peters, right? And say, oh yeah, Adam Peters is the GM now. Because I think if they just fired John Lynch and promoted Adam Peters, it'd just be doing the same thing. And if anything, you'd just be giving Kyle more personnel power. So I really think, unless they're able to figure this out, and I hate to say it like this, but I think you got to clean house. If you're not going to figure it out with this regime, and you think it's a personnel thing or a coaching thing or this or that, whatever it is, if it's not going to work, they just got to completely clean house if it comes to it. I don't think they should right now. I don't think they're there yet, but I don't like this idea. And like, you tell me what you think, Croc. Like, I don't think they can just straight up fire John Lynch and then kind of keep things going afterwards.
No, I agree, because I do think, and somebody said it in the chat earlier in the show, but John Lynch is kind of being used as a scapegoat throughout this entire situation. Nothing happens with this 49ers team without this stamp of approval from Kyle Shanahan. So knowing that this is not one of those situations, think of McVay when he got to the Rams. He was the head coach. Like, I'm the head coach. I have my GM. What's his name? Les Snead or whatever. Like, I have my GM. He gets me everything I need. He gets me all the players. The draft picks. Like, he's that I coach. They bring me the ingredients and all that, and they buy the groceries, and I just cook. I do my thing, right? But when you look at 49ers situation, you have Kyle Shanahan, who he's doing the grocery shopping, he's doing the cooking, he's prepping the meal, he's getting the table set and ready for everybody, and then making sure the kids are ready, and he's setting up the silverware. Kyle's doing all that. So when you look at like, oh, well, we're just going to get rid of John Lynch, like, no, what does John Lynch really do? And again, I know he says the draft is his baby, but again, nothing happens without the stamp of approval from Kyle Shanahan. So I agree. I don't think it's as simple as just letting go of John Lynch and saying, okay, that's going to solve everything. Ultimately, I think this team lives and dies with Kyle Shanahan. So if it continues to go down this route, and again, I'm not somebody that is like, hey, fire Kyle Shanahan.
Oh.
I'm not somebody that's saying that, But if it continues to go down this route where right now, you got one winning season in 4 years. Right now, you're starting off the season with a losing record. I do think they'll win the next 2 games. But starting off the season with a losing record is not looking great. At some point, we just have to hold Kyle Shanahan to the ultimate, and say, hey, this isn't something that you've created because you've had the power to do these things how you want to do it.
Yeah, well, and the really, really frustrating part, Croc, and honestly, I think you and many other 49ers media people feel the same way, is that all this time we've been talking about Kyle getting his quarterback, quote unquote. And you think, after they made that trade, if you had told me that we'd still be discussing who the quarterback is and what the quarterback of the future and who's the quarterback now in week 6 of this year, I'd say you were crazy, but that's where we are right now. And to me, that's kind of that's the biggest criticism of Kyle, is the fact that he's had so much time to get his guy. And even when he drafts the guy who's supposed to be his guy, and of course there's all the rumors, but like, we can only acknowledge what we know for sure. This is supposed to be his guy, right? You got to be fully bought in with Trey Lance. And I feel this way, Croc. Like, I'm not as much worried about the win-loss record at the end of the season right now as I am worried about Trey Lance's development. And the idea that for the future of the 49ers, like you look at the Justin Herbert Chargers last season, right? I don't think Chargers fans were excited to lose as many games as they did. They were really excited for the future of Justin Herbert and what they saw from him in his rookie year. And I'm not saying the 49ers need to be below 500, but if they don't make the playoffs and Trey Lance looks awesome, your job is fine, Kyle. And that's kind of the thing that I get back to, is it's all about Trey Lance, right? And this team just has had a really bad plan with Trey Lance, in my opinion. It hasn't felt very thought out. And I'm really starting to question their long-term team building, because I just think you couldn't have taken Trey Lance 3rd overall and kept Jimmy on this contract in a reasonable way. And they did it, and it's not really going that well. And like I was saying earlier, Croc, I kind of feel like because they have, 1 foot in the future, 1 foot in the present, they're gonna do worse in both of them, right? They're not going to accomplish either. And that's kind of the frustration I have, is that they won't commit to one plan with this team. And I really don't know where they're going. And that's weird to me, because after you draft a quarterback 3rd overall and trade up for him like this, you would assume that the team goes in a certain direction, but they haven't fully committed to that yet. That's what I really don't understand, is that they're still kind of in this mode of, oh, we got to win now, or not even win now, but just have enough playoff hope to get the fans off our back or something. I really think they're non-committal to either way is what's going to screw them this season. And I think it could hurt Trey Lance's development in the future. But I also think, guess what? It's the bye week, and they have plenty of time to potentially start and play Trey Lance the rest of the season, get him experience, and then understand the team you need to build around him. Because I feel like you look at so many of these teams who have, drafted quarterbacks and then one within the rookie contract.
I still hear you. Keep talking.
Okay, yeah, I lost Croc for a sec. But you look at all these teams recently, like the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Browns, a lot of these teams who have drafted quarterbacks, they build teams around them, and they specifically build them with the intention of, that rookie contract in mind, and squeezing every ounce out of it that they can, because they know that, with these quarterbacks, you can only get so much value out of them before you pay them. And unless they're the Justin Herberts or Patrick Mahomes or, that type of level of player, that's not a guy you really want to pay in the long run if you actually want to win. And I really I think the 49ers got to commit to something, and they got to stick with that, and then just keep going. And yeah, where was Lance projected to go before we traded to 3? I thought it was Atlanta, right, Croc? Isn't that what everyone's saying now?
So a lot of everybody, what people were saying was Atlanta at 4. And you have Benjamin Albright. There was one 49er fan that responded to him last night, and Benjamin started going on kind of a rant. And Albright, there's one thing I'll say about him, and he covers the Broncos for Broncos Country.
Yeah,
Broncos
something
County.
like that.
I've been on this show a couple of times. But he's pretty plugged in. And so far, everything I've seen, when he comes out and says something, he is typically right. And then when it happens, he'll typically kind of go back and show you some he'll go back and show some like a screenshot or something. He'll cross out their name or whatever, but he'll show like this is what was going to happen, or this is what this person said. So he is 1000% certain, 1000%. Looking at those tweets yesterday, and him talking to the 49er fan, 1000% certain that if the 49ers did not take Trey Lance, then Trey Lance would be in the Atlanta Falcon. And he's like as sure as you could be about that. So, I don't know, but a lot of it was Trey Lance was going to be going pretty high regardless.
Yeah, and he's a really talented kid, and I think it just makes sense that he would go that high in the draft. Like, I mean, Croc, I know you're obviously doing the NFL the NFL draft podcast with Locked On, right? The next quarterback class isn't looking as awesome as this last one right now.
It is not. And not even that. It's not even like you don't even have like these guys with like just like the high upside, high ceilings. Like this past class that the 49ers ended up getting Trey Lance, you could see like, okay, this guy can, he can be this. He has this type of ability. He could be this. You can look at the Justin Fields and what he did and what he was coming out of college also, or coming out of high school and college. Trevor Lawrence, same thing. Mac Jones was maybe the one with the most limited ceiling, but even then was a terrific college quarterback, great college quarterback, right?
Absolutely.
So you at least like in that class was probably as good as it gets from the sense of prospects and the type of quarterback that you want and the type of upside that those guys have. I'm not seeing it with this upcoming class. So I do think that the 49ers definitely struck gold, no pun intended, with being able to draft a guy like Trey Lance that has the upside and the ability, as opposed to waiting, because this class coming up, I mean, Spencer Rattler was projected to be the number one guy. And I mean, he might not even be, I don't even know. He just got benched. And then you have, Carson Strong at Nevada,
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis might be the best one. It's not as great. It's not as strong a quarterback class. Not even close.
No, and it's looking really weak this year for sure. I just wanted to end with that, Croc. Kind of like this whole thing that they just got to commit to something. They got to stick with it, and they got to have a plan in place and be willing to, be in it for the long run. Because I feel like too much they keep going back and forth, and there's this mixed messaging, and John Lynch has to go and talk about all like do a 25-minute interview with Matt Maiocco. And last thing though, Croc, I want to ask you about this because I still don't understand it. Well, what's going on with Brandon Aiyuk, man? I'm sorry, I'm still confused by the fact, and I know everyone's been putting out this stuff on Twitter recently. He's not targeted at the line of scrimmage. You look at how many routes he's running all the routes. Like this whole receiving corps to me is very confusing because we were told that Trent Sherfield was one of the best in the group, and now he's MIA, and we're seeing a lot of Travis Benjamin and Mohamed Sanu, and I'd love to see even more Juwan Jennings. Like some of the personnel decisions to me have been really shaky, especially wide receiver. Like I think that's been the worst to me. Playing Mohamed Sanu and Travis Benjamin, how much they have is a football crime in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's I don't know. I think like everything else, and you talked about all the questions you have really with the direction of the team, whether it's the quarterback, like what's the identity. John Lynch alluded to as much on the Maiocco podcast, where he was basically saying, we got to find our identity. I think when it comes to Brandon Aiyuk as well, and just the receiver group in general, there's no identity with that group aside from get the ball to Deebo Samuel. So I don't know. I mean, I think we'll learn more about these teams. And, ideally you would like to know about your team heading into the season. Right now, it seems like they've had to pivot and figure out things on the move. And, hopefully over these next 2 wins, which I think are extremely winnable games for the 49ers, I think they will win these next 2 games. But they're going to have to find out a lot about themselves and the direction that they want to go moving forward with this team, and try to figure out who's going to be the guys, right? You're going to have those things answered over the next 2 weeks. Otherwise, it's going to be a really long season.
Yeah. Well, and thanks for having me on, Croc. I just wanted to say, they got to find an offensive identity. That's the main thing. You hit the nail on the head right there. It's really what it comes down to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, Croc.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Here we go, coming on. And again, if you guys haven't already, hit that like button right now. Hit the subscribe button. All right, all that good stuff. We got over 220 people in here right now. Y'all should have already hit that like button. I don't have 200 likes. I don't think I do. I don't think I have 200 likes. So hit that little chat down real quick. Hit the like button and then pull the chat right back up. But here we go. Last caller, my guy, Roscoe's. What up, man?
What's up, Croc? How's it going?
Hey, by the way, hey, Roscoe's, man, he created this overlay. So hold on, I'm gonna remove him so you guys can see the whole overlay real quick. Boom, y'all see it. He did this for me. I wanted to go a little bit more simple. Have my underdog fantasy logo on here, promo code Crocky, morning show, all that good stuff. Where you can find me on Twitter. So if y'all need layovers or anything like that, I mean, he did this within. I don't know. It didn't take him that long. Created the overlay for me. So make sure y'all, if you need any graphics or anything done like that, holla at my dog. All right, but he's back on the show. What's good, man?
Hey, right on, Croc. Thanks for that. All right, so I want to say, I know you've been asking people who are their favorite draft pick, and I want to say Fred Warner has been my favorite draft pick. From year 1 to year 2, like, you've seen his body change, and that shows you that he was really in it to win it. You know what I'm saying? So he bulked up, changed his body. He got better each year. And with all the injuries we had last year, there was one constant person, Fred Warner. And we had the number 5 deep in the league. And he was at an all-pro level. I mean, Salah had to really lean on him. And I think the whole, team defense rallied around him and his play. And so, yeah, Fred Warner has been by far my favorite draft pick. And I want to say, because, I mean, me and you talked about this. There's a lot of complaining going on, and we are a 2-3 team. And I think that, I mean, trust me, I've been annoyed with Kyle Shanahan, but we're 2-3. I mean, it is literally not over. We have 12 games left. So
12 games left, and you got some games very, very, very winnable over the next 2 weeks again to try to find your identity. But go ahead.
Very winnable. So I think fans need to chill a little bit. I think
It's only tough. Time. Okay, real quick, Roscoe's. I think the issue is that I think if the 49ers knew who they were, then it would be a little bit easier to chill, right? Like you look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're 3-3 now, but even when they were 2-3, there wasn't that panic or uproar because they knew who they were. It was just like, hey, let's just get back to playing our game and how we play. With the 49ers right now, the 49ers, the team doesn't know who they are. The fans don't know who they are. There's no identity. We don't know who to follow. Is it going to be Jimmy Garoppolo? Is it Trey Lance? Is Jimmy there's so many questions. And I think that's what the issue is. I think if the 49ers were 2-3, but they knew who they were, and it's just like, hey, we just got to get back to that, I don't think you would have as much of an uproar.
I'm going to say this. We know who the 49ers are. Kyle Shanahan knows who the 49ers are. Kyle Shanahan has stated who they were. He stated, if Jimmy healthy, Jimmy started. So we don't need no speculation. Jimmy's going to start this week. What do we do? What do we usually do? We try to run the ball and do play action. That's who we are. Kyle Shanahan has just been he hasn't been in rhythm this year. And I remember when you asked, what do you like most about the 49ers? I mean, what do you like most about Kyle Shanahan? And I told you, I was like, I love how when he gets in a rhythm, he's dang near unstoppable. I mean, the Niners can put a flurry of points on teams. So I think we do know who the 49ers are. It's just they have not been executing the best this year. But we are a run-first team who live off the play action. Jimmy Garoppolo is our starter. Now, I'm not saying I'm happy about that because you already seen the avatars, Trey Lance. That's who I want to play. But at the end of the day, that is who we are, and they've been consistent on what they've been saying. But I wanted to say this. I'm not tripping on the regime drafting style. I think the only time I've ever tripped on them is 2017 when they didn't take a quarterback when they should. You shouldn't wait to year 5 for you to take a quarterback. So I think they realized they messed up on that in 2017. And for the people out there who's getting on John Lynch and saying they want Adam Peters, just know Ambry Thomas was an Adam Peters pick. There was this guy who was low-key disrespectful in the chat named Matt. and anybody in there. Ambry Thomas was an Adam Peters pick, just so y'all know. I think another thing is we get on our regime, but you got to look at it. 30% of the NFL is made up of undrafted rookies. And then I think more than 50% is made up of undrafted and late round picks.
Right.
So the 49ers, I mean, yes, they have to do better hitting on their early picks, but they are pretty much in
they're on par with the rest of the league.
Yeah, they're on par with the rest of the league of how they're drafting and how, their talent is doing it. And I also believe if you look at Bill Belichick and if you look at the Seattle Seahawks, I would say in the last 5 years, they have not drafted well. I mean, their drafts have been low-key iffy. But I will say one constant thing about those teams. They had, the keyword, more so for the Patriots, they had elite quarterbacks. At the end of the day, drafts could be trash, drafts could be suspect, but guess what? It was Tom Brady consistently leading the way. Russell Wilson consistently leading the way. Now, you see no Russell Wilson, you see no Tom Brady, they're struggling. Things are starting to, truths are starting to be revealed about those teams. All that matters is if we hit on Trey Lance. And then last, I just want to, we hit on Debo. Looks like we hit on Elijah Mitchell. We hit on Kittle. We hit on Bosa. We hit on Greenlaw. I believe we hit on Aiyuk. We hit on Warner. And even Breida. Breida's an undrafted pick, right?
Him and Kendrick Bourne in that same class.
We hit on Kendrick Bourne. For what he gave us, we hit on him too. So I think the Niners draft style has been pretty decent. And also we have to give the rookies time. I don't get, well, I mean, we live in an instant gratification type of society, and things got to be perfect now. Things got to be, they got to hit now. But at the end of the day, you have to give rookies 2 to 3 years to develop. I don't care if they're not playing. I don't care if they were terrible. I don't care about any of that. You have to give the rookies 2 to 3 years to develop. You cannot have an opinion on a rookie after not even seeing them play or seeing them play in the preseason. Like, you can't do that. It don't make no sense. I understand folks wanted Asante Samuel. I understand folks wanted other players. And the crazy thing is, we drafted 2 corners. Y'all say y'all wanted us to have corners, but we did draft 2 corners. We drafted 2 linemen. We drafted 2 running backs. I don't think we drafted a receiver. I mean, that's what I wanted. I wanted Terrence Marshall, but it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. I don't know if we're good, but we're 2-3. We'll see what happens next. But as far as the draft, I mean, yes, they can do better in the early picks, but I like what we have, and all that matters is if we hit on Trey Lance.
Yep, I agree. I appreciate you coming on, Roscoe's. Again, if you guys need any overlays made or anything, holla at my dog Chris, man. He'll get y'all right.
Right on, Croc.
All right. I wanted to leave this one up here real quick, and I want to touch on this. It says Mac will never be Peyton or Brady. All right. And my kind of response to that is, you don't know what anybody's going to be, right? Like, all these prospects, I'm pretty sure when Tom Brady was drafted, it was probably, Tom Brady would never be what Tom Brady became, right? Because he was drafted 6th round or whatever. I think what Mac Jones is, and it's been talked about a ton, what Mac Jones is and what he isn't. But you look at a lot of what Mac is doing right now, and I think the Patriots are doing a really good job of utilizing him to his strengths. And he's been extremely efficient within the offense. And my thing is just do that, right? Like, he hasn't been like a playmaker or a big play guy, but he's making the right reads and right throws. The ball's going to the right places. He's completing passes at a high clip. And you look at that and it's like, dang, I just need Jimmy Garoppolo to be that. Now you draft these other guys, right? When you look at Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and those guys, Zach Wilson, are drafted higher because they have more playmaking ability and they don't have to lean on a team to be as good in theory, right? Like, or when things aren't great, can those kind of guys bail you out? And I think that's why you draft those guys over at Mac Jones. But I think for Mac Jones, what he is, where he was drafted, I think he's been awesome. He was awesome at that in college. That was a big time strength of his. I actually like Mac Jones, just not in the top 5 because I don't think he has like the elite traits, but I think he plays the quarterback position extremely well. I always look at like high end and then more likely with guys. So, when you look at let's say a Trey Lance, right? You can look at Trey Lance or Justin Fields and be like, man, high end, we're talking about, Deshaun Watson, like, Josh Allen, right? Like that type of ability. What are they more likely going to be like? I would have said, before we've seen what Dak Prescott has turned into this year, but I would have been like, Dak Justin Fields is more like a Dak Prescott, right? Like, and what we've seen some high moments from Dak, some lower more moments. You guys probably don't remember, but like year 2 was kind of weird and stuff. Year 4 was kind of, we've seen some weird moments from Dak Prescott, but we've also seen some high moments in what he's become. But like when it kind of got weird or whatever, and you see some ability, but he's still able to take his team to the playoffs, I say, I can see Fields being that, right? Now, obviously, Dak Prescott is playing at like an MVP caliber level. But I like to look at what guys might be. Trey Lance, again, it's like, oh, man, I see some Josh Allen in him. And it's like, yeah, I could see some Josh Allen in him in that type of ability. And obviously, Josh Allen has taken him 3 years to become what he is now, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But also, it's like, I could see some Ryan Tannehill in him. When I looked at Mac Jones, it was like he is that style of quarterback as a Drew Brees, as a Tom Brady, right? Like he's that style. Is he more than likely? He's probably not going to be that, but he's more likely going to be a Kirk Cousins, maybe even a Derek Carr. Even though Derek Carr is still different because Derek Carr is probably still more of a more dynamic quarterback. But just in the sense of the tier that they are in, Mac Jones is probably more likely to be that. But there is still an opportunity for Mac Jones to be a Tom Brady type quarterback and see how he develops and things like that. And I think they're doing a good job of how they're utilizing him, how they're calling plays for him, and it's working out. I don't think he'll ever be like that playmaking guy like some of these other guys, but I don't think you necessarily need that to win. It's just if I had a choice, I would take that. So that's kind of my spiel on Mac a little bit, but I think he does a terrific job with, I saw him short here. We got awareness, accuracy, processing. All elite. That is true. I actually was one that said, and I stand on this, and I still feel strongly about this. If I had a choice to take Mac Jones at pick 12 or Davis Mills in the second round or wherever he was drafted or third round, I would take Davis Mills over Mac Jones because I think they possess a lot of the same traits. With Mills, it was having to clean up some things, but I think he had high upside. And you're looking at Mills right now, and you see him progressively getting better. And I actually thought he played lights out against the Patriots. He actually played better than Mac Jones in that game. And we've seen Davis Mills. He's progressing really nicely. People don't talk about Davis Mills, but I really liked his game. I liked his ability. He had to be a little bit more consistent with just his passing and kind of like taking care of the ball. But all the ability of what you would want, and I thought that was a Kyle Shanahan style quarterback in Davis Mills. It's like, man, if you're gonna draft a guy, but you still want to play, Jimmy Garoppolo, play Mills, draft Mills. I actually liked him. Yeah, make sure you guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that good stuff. Here we go. I've seen you in the chat. I appreciate all your input. Dolanite. There we go. We can have it both ways. Do you want to lose with Trey while he learns or try to win now with Jimmy until he's released? So this was my take all along. And it's an unpopular opinion. But to me, when it came to the 49ers and Trey Lance and development and the quarterback and stuff, this year, and I was able to kind of try to look at the bigger picture of things, it was never about this year for me. I know Kyle Shanahan can't say that because he has one winning season in 4 years. To me, it was all about getting Trey Lance to where I need him to be and building up, what he's going to be and going through the ups and downs and the process of that and how he would be better for it year 2. And I was on board with that. Easier to say to me. I just talked to you guys on YouTube where Kyle Shanahan has millions of dollars at stake. But I like the idea of get rid of Garoppolo when you can. Use that money to roll over to next year. Not having him this year and next year would have freed up roughly $50 million to build a terrific team around your young guy. Play him ups and downs, whatever. He'd be better for it moving forward. We've seen that a little bit with the Chargers, and I'm not saying that Trey Lance is Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's playing lights out of his world, but just in the sense of building on what Trey Lance is and how to improve, and how early on the Chargers lost some close games. Quarterback playing well, lost some close games, had to learn how to win. Down the stretch, they won their last 4 games, and then how people viewed the Chargers heading into this season and how they're viewing them now. Even after a stinker, Justin Herbert didn't play well against the Ravens, right? Probably worst game as a pro, maybe. But they are still looked at in a very positive light because of who is that quarterback and how well he's playing. And again, not saying Trey Lance is going to be that in year 2, but I want to get him closer to that than having to try to figure out who he is this offseason. Give him the reps now. So I was willing to kind of sacrifice this season. And I still think, put a good team around him, Kyle Shanahan, do some things. We can win some games with him. But I was willing to, if we were going to lose games, I would rather be this year. And let's get Trey Lance to where he needs to be. Because I felt like all along, you have a better opportunity of winning it all when Trey Lance is as good as he's going to be, as opposed to Jimmy Garoppolo being as good as he's going to be. It's going to be a lot harder to win with that as opposed to Trey Lance, who makes it, more dynamic of a team, more high power, more explosive. Just not there yet, and we'll see how it all works out. But I appreciate the question. All right, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys like this show. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. There will be some changeovers eventually. You guys will see it. I have a website in the works right now. Website's going up. It's going to be up soon. Once the website is up, I'm going to be changing everything over. So it won't be Croc Talk TV anymore. It'll be something else. I'll talk to you guys more about that when I talk about just all the business things I have going on between building my gym, my media platform, and how potentially there might be an opportunity for some of you guys to make some money while utilizing this channel. So I'm going to get into all that and more, but make sure, again, subscribe, like, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky, all that good stuff. I appreciate everybody.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Aaron Crocker. Over midfield, he'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Croc Talk TV podcast. Peace.